Hey everybody, welcome back to The Best Thing Ever, a podcast about the stuff our friends like. I have a slightly new explanation for you today. I was talking to Ezra about this. I was thinking about how we ended up here. I am on record, personally, your host Alex Falcone here, I am on record as being somewhat of a hater sometimes. You guys, I don't know if you've noticed this. In the last month, I have publicly hated people who climb Everest, mobile game ads, models, muffins, Apple's headset, and I took a couple cheap shots at vegans just that I really should have, sometimes the pitch is too good, you gotta let it go. The point is, I can drink from the keg of Haterade with the best of them. I have a strong tolerance for it. And so this show is about trying to balance that out in the universe, trying to find things that people love and ways to love them.
Yeah,
as a
Alex,
balance for all the hate I put out.
We could never do enough episodes to counterbalance all the hate you put into this world. But
I'd like to try.
For a long time.
It's like that starfish, man. It meant a lot to that one starfish.
That's a good point.
It's true, but to be honest with the mission statement that you have, Alex, if I were like your doctor, I would actually recommend that you expose yourself to less things if you want to hate less. You know what I mean? I'd be like, let's keep your exposure rate low.
Oh, it's like a restriction diet kind of thing, where it's like, let's see.
If we keep adding stuff to Alex's universe, then you will inevitably hate more things.
Yeah, Alex, you need to go on a hate lockdown.
Yeah,
hate quarantine.
Well, I never hate things after dark, and I never hate between meals. And,
intermittent hating?
I'm intermittent hating. That's what I'm trying to do.
Intermittent hating is what you need.
Trying to make it a little bit easier on myself. So what we're doing on the show, one of us or one of our friends nominates a topic that could be the best thing ever. And Anthony, usually our resident historian, does a deep dive into the topic's history and tells me ways to love it, find things that I should love about it. Today, we are talking about Zelda. Maybe specifically Tears of the Kingdom, but broadly all of Zelda.
All of Zelda?
I thought I just did the Fitzgerald, right?
Yeah.
Dude, if we're going to talk about all of Zelda, then I'm going to not talk about Tears of the Kingdom at all today.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, Anthony hasn't told me much about his presentation. It's got kind of short visual aids, so we'll see. If you want to get those visual aids, you can go to youtube.com/AlexFalcone. I would love to hear little bits about... I was assuming I was going to get a nice, thick history of Zelda, but apparently I'm not.
This is a decayed history. Sorry.
No, I mean, this is one of those things that, this is an episode that's kind of like the wrestling one where I've been preparing for this my entire life.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to have a lot of notes. You're going to do this off the dome.
Yeah, I am. I mean, we'll get to this, but yeah, I could go on for literally hours. So I had to sort of limit what I could do. But I have an idea. I have a vision of what I'm trying to accomplish here, and we'll see how it goes.
I know this is, for the regular listeners, this is 2 video game weeks in a row, which is a little bit surprising for us, but this is my one. This is the video game I have played this year. This and some phone games that I'm embarrassed to admit, but mostly this.
Wait, no, pause. What are they?
Nope.
Did the zombie game that you're hating on? You were like, you know what?
I did not play the zombie game. I've defended with towers more than once. I've kept the hordes at bay through strategic placement and deployment of towers and upgrades of those towers.
Were these towers? Were they monkeys that threw darts? Were these gems that zapped bad guys? These are the tower defense games I've played.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah,
there's a million tower defense games.
I like to imagine Alex is just secretly one of the best mobile Fortnite players in the world. That's what I want to imagine.
I believe it.
What a weird thing to be the best at.
He is he doesn't play consoles. He doesn't play PCs. All about that mobile Fortnite life.
Dude, Fortnite life.
Yeah.
So
as no build mode, that's Alex.
Let me give... Okay, so we got a lot to talk about with Zelda coming up, including things like attaching stuff to shields, everything beats walking, and dumb ways to die. But
also every Zelda game ever made, apparently.
And apparently the history of this game. But let's talk about... let me introduce you your host. I'm a comedian. My name is Alex Falcone. I'm going to be driving this bus until it blinks and then stops existing. And I like to introduce everybody in a game I call 3 Hosts and a Lie. And so I'm going to give a fun fact about each of our hosts today, including myself, and one of them will not be true. Me, your host, Alex Falcone, used to have my name on a plaque at an ice cream store. That's a fun fact about me.
Yeah,
Do not serve this man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Alex, that's not a plaque. That's a warning. If there's a Polaroid of you with ice cream all over your face, just saying 86 underneath it.
It just says no. Yeah, I was taking all the. I went to it was a froyo place, and I was taking all the lychee berries, licking them, putting them back. Self-serve.
This child is not the ice cream inspector. Do not let him in the back.
Dude, I've never. Maybe it's time that I actually do this, but I always wanted someone to do like a YouTube video breakdown of the cost of per gram of like all of the self-serve toppings at a froyo server place, and the way you can get the best return.
Oh, I thought min-max was going to be like raspberries, and then maybe just straight whipped cream because like the mass
so
is so light.
raspberries are going by most expensive, but they're also fairly weighty. Yeah, whipped cream weighs nothing, so you can get a lot out of that, but it also doesn't cost much. That's what I'm saying. You got to graph grams per dollar or whatever, or dollars per gram, and then compare it to the price you're paying there. I would guess, because the Pinkberry that I went to the other day had a few items that you had to pay separately for. It was like $1 for a piece of waffle cone, which makes me think they did the math. Anyway, I'll do the math. I'll make this video.
Alex, I can understand why you were banned from that ice cream shop. You seem like a very annoying customer.
This was the thing that would have gotten me banned from a Pinkberry, is coming in there with a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Wait, so real quick on this. You can do the same thing with a salad bar. I really think I do know the answer, which is just olive oil. So it's just you just fill it up with olive oil, and then you sell the olive oil off and buy a cheaper salad later.
You know, my guess is even if you go to like the Whole Foods salad bar, it's probably not a high-end olive oil, and then having to carry it in that cardboard container out of the store might make it not worth it.
No, you drink it there.
I've been meaning to do this for a long time, so I'm going to do my min-max.
Yeah. Alex, I can imagine you as the type of guy who would like blow a generator for a whole city just to go into an ice cream shop and be like, oh, that's melting. It's probably going to be, sucks. The power's out. It's melting. Let me get it.
Villain. I have money for ice cream. Anyway, let me just see the rest of the panel. Our chief marketing daddy, Mr. Ezra Fox, fun fact, met his wife when they were both 14.
Yeah. That's just true.
Yeah. Both is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Yeah, it was
and it's very, very important.
It's crucial.
It's very important that you had that both.
It would actually, if I had just said met his wife when she was 14 and didn't say anything else about it, would have been true still, but left a real big
this
hole
is important. I appreciate
minds.
not needing to clarify this. Yeah, we're in high school together.
Also, our resident historian, Mr. Anthony Lopez. Fun fact about him: still has not gotten COVID.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Dodging that motherfucker.
Just
Try to
very
catch
strong.
me, COVID.
Also,
Super Dodger.
Rounding out the panel, our board game influencer and our video game consultant, Mr. Hunter Donaldson. Fun fact, he went to school with Yakov Smirnoff's kid.
Yeah, you're damn right. And Yakov Smirnoff himself came to speak at my school. Somebody asked him a question about Vladimir Putin, and then he started crying.
In Mother Russia, Putin cries about you.
That's so true. Also, I like the idea that maybe he would have cried at any question and you just happened to be about Putin, but it was just if you'd just been like, where did you get your name from, Yakov? And then he would just start bawling. He just hates questions. The Q&A format is bad for him.
I kind of feel like I knew the kid a little bit, and I kind of think in his head he was like, how funny would it be if I asked him like a real question? But then he didn't consider that Yakov Smirnoff is like a real human being. And in asking the question that it did actually stir like real emotion in Yakov.
Can I ask you guys a question? Have you ever watched, actually, like I know Yakov Smirnoff from people doing bits about Yakov Smirnoff. I've never actually seen
such a good point.
Routine.
Yeah, I don't know who this person is really.
Like, have you actually seen like his acts? Like,
no.
No, he owns a theater in Branson, Missouri that my family would go to frequently as a vacation. And we still never went there. Like, it just wasn't on the list of things we wanted to do.
All right. Anyway, let's get back to stabbing people, solving puzzles. Let's do slay some monsters, solve some mysteries, and collect some apples. So we like to start out every episode with the core memory. What is the first thing that you remember about Zelda? Or if not your first, maybe you can do a quick run. Like, I feel like I'll go first. I played a lot of Ocarina of Time on my clear plastic Game Boy Advance, I believe.
No, it would have been.
No, you did not.
Yeah, you did not play. If you played Ocarina of Time,
what was my Game Boy Advance game then?
Link's Awakening or Link to the Past. Both were on GBA.
Okay, it must have been Link's Awakening then, and I didn't play Ocarina of Time. But we had no. You know what it was? Link's Awakening had a lot of ocarinas in it, but I definitely played a lot of Game Boy Advance, clear Game Boy Advance Zelda back then, and then I skipped everything until Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
Last year. Yeah. So I don't know what's happened in the meantime. So I have this big. I just cruised over the gap. Anthony, have you been there the whole time? Have you not missed any Zeldas ever?
Yeah, so, I mean, I can go in. So, I'm a big fan of the Zelda franchise. I'm a big fan of video games in general. I have a Zelda. The only tattoo I have is a Zelda tattoo because I'm incredibly cliche and basic.
Where can you tell the placement?
It's on my own. You can barely see it. On the day of my 18th birthday, I woke up. I said, I'm going to go get a tattoo. I walked into a tattoo parlor at 10 in the morning, showed a guy a picture, left by noon with a tattoo. It's the only tattoo I have. It's a really bad Triforce. Like, you could literally not see it on the video if I tried to show it to you.
Well, he's yellow, yeah.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's old, it's faded. But So my history with Zelda is I always liked video games growing up. We had, like, a Nintendo, Sega stuff, but I was never really into them very much. I played them every once in a while, and I liked them, but I wasn't, like, a huge, like, gamer, if you wanted to use that term, until a friend of mine showed me Ocarina of Time the year it came out. Ocarina of Time literally changed my life. I don't think I would not be the person I am today. I would not be into as games as much as I were. Ocarina of Time completely changed the way what I thought video games were, what I thought were possible in video games. And I have played every Zelda that has come out since Ocarina of Time, day one, since then.
Interesting.
I'm a big fan of this franchise. Kind of my presentation of what I want to get into is sort of like the history of it and sort of how we got here. But yeah, I mean, I remember Ocarina of Time. My favorite story of Ocarina of Time is my younger brother's a real dick. And I grew up in a very religious household. And my younger brother knew how much, once my friend showed me Ocarina of Time, how much I wanted to play it and how much I wanted to have it. And it was going to be like the one thing I asked for like birthdays and Christmases that year. And growing up in a very religious household, my mom was very easily triggered in terms of like, that is satanic.
Something might be the devil,
allowed in your house. Yeah. And literally all my brother had to say to her to make it so she would not buy me Ocarina of Time is that it has other gods in it. And my mom literally lost her shit at me.
Man.
About how, like, because, like, there is, like, a creation
Are you telling
mythology.
Me there's a horse god in this game?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, yeah, there's a whole, like, creation mythology in Ocarina of Time, you know? And, like, so I remember, like, begging my mom and trying to explain to her and being like, look, Mom, I'm not going to fucking start worshiping the goddess of wisdom from Zelda, right? That's not going to happen.
But you did end up getting a tattoo from it, so she was kind of right.
Yeah, she was.
And your body is a temple.
Yes, that is true.
How hard of a temple would you say your body is, though? Like,
that's a great.
It's definitely somewhere between, like, if we're talking about like Ocarina of Time, somewhere between like the water temple and maybe the sand temple.
I didn't play that game, but is there a trashed temple that's just got a lot of food strewed about?
No.
Okay.
I will say in this current water temple for Tears of the Kingdom, there's a lot of gunk in there before you clean it up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's closer to my body, my temple. Yeah, there's a lot of gunk flowing down. You can't. People keep telling me to drink water. It's not enough.
But yeah.
Hunter, have you been here every step of the way?
In 1986, The Legend of Zelda came out on the Famicom Disk system in Japan. It was later released in the United States. I don't know, probably a year later. 1987. Let's say it was released in 1987. I was born in 1989. In 1991, there is VCR tape evidence that I could play for the jury of me playing the original Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So yeah, I have been here every day, like from birth. From literally birth, the doctor handed me that like gold NES cartridge of Zelda.
He told you it was dangerous to go alone, and he gave you the cartridge of Zelda.
Exactly.
Right?
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
He came out, he cut the cord with the sword that seals the darkness, and then put you off into the world. Ezra, you come from coastal people. I assume, less worried about the new gods of the Zelda series. Did you grow up with this alongside Link?
No. So I didn't have a Nintendo until the N64. So there was one time at a party, a kid was playing like Zelda on like Super Nintendo, and I was like, oh, that looks hard. And then later I got like the gold edition of the Ocarina of Time, and maybe got like, I think, not even halfway through it. I basically got old and then I gave up, I think. like so many of us in life. And and then
Ezra is on fire today in such a subtle way. Like, you really got to listen to Ezra today, because there's some good shit.
But then basically my buddy Brian he calls himself my video game enabler, and so he was pitching at some point. Like, at some point I got a Switch. Basically, I was very nervous about having a Switch, but I figured like we'd only play basically games we could play like as a family. And so he was like, got to play Zelda when you have, like 100 hours to kill. And so we had this like kind of time when we were indoors a little more for some of our lives last few years. And
really?
So
what happened?
I feel like it's just a coastal thing. Yeah. It's just the coastal folk stayed inside for a bit.
What's kind of sad is that that's actually sort of true, and kind of a big part of what was the problem, that it was mostly a coastal thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically though, we like kind of played like half hour a day basically, or so, Breath of the Wild, and pretty much just like finished up like only a few months before Tears of the Kingdom came out, really.
Yeah.
So we, that was like the one we kind of did to some level of like doneness. And then so we've been doing a similar thing with Tears of the Kingdom. So big gaps in the Zelda knowledge. But it was kind of fun that we didn't actually, like most people, have a very long wait at all, which is kind of a nice way to time it. So I recommend everyone being a patient gamer.
I also timed it similarly, so that I was just, and I didn't actually finish. I let whatever go. I don't care about the fighting. So
you let Ganon just continue to reign terror. You're like, what, he's good.
What do you mean?
Okay, so first of all, I don't really give a shit. Let him have it. But second of all, I am about who is in charge of Hyrule the way like those people who don't vote. I'm just like, they're all the same. Let him have it. But the other thing is, somebody told me, I was told, it was spoiled for me, that you defeat Ganon and then you go back into the world and he's just back again, and it's just like it didn't happen, and like he's still there.
Well, you go back a little early. You get a star next to your save file. It's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like beating most video games. Like, that's literally because, like, what are you gonna do? Like.
Well, there's no post game.
Yeah, there's no like new game plus, but it's like, if you want to go back,
all I've ever wanted to do is ride a horse, 2 apples, and you could just say like, "Hey, the monsters are gone now. Just let me explore peaceful Hyrule." Everyone in Hyrule is talking about, "Boy, it sure is going to be great when the monsters are gone. Let them be fucking gone."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
let me just go solve the. I want to do the puzzles. Like, this is okay. We're gonna come back to this a bunch of times. The fighting is the least interesting part of this game for me by a fair amount. Every time I have to fight something, it is just a pain in the ass that's getting in the way of me going to a new puzzle or just like tropping around in this. I just want to stay in Central Hyrule where the weather's good, get on a horse, get on Sylvester Stallion, and just trot around. And I'll look at stuff, do some puzzles, do some side quests. I don't want to have Ganon hanging over me if I've already killed Ganon. Who cares?
I mean, I can say, as somebody who has finished both Breath of the Wild and literally finished Tears of the Kingdom 5 minutes before we started recording. I literally.
Oh my god.
Well, what do you mean by finished? Did you don't just mean got rid of the big bad guy, because you also got all of the shrines.
No, I went.
You don't mean 100%, do you?
Well, no. So I just finished Tears of the Kingdom. I did all 5 temples. I did all 151 shrines. I uncovered the entire depths. I got almost every costume.
Jesus.
And I went and I fought Ganon, and I have to say, between both games, I thought the ending of Breath of the Wild was all right. The ending of Tears of the Kingdom, even if it does bother you that it resets, is fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
The final sequence of that game is incredible. I was blown away by how that game ends.
Did you investigate all the newspaper stories?
Yes, I did all the newspaper
stories. Okay, good. That's all that matters.
Yes. I did.
As long, like, obviously, like, I spent a lot of time being a gumshoe reporter. That part's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta have my bird friends tell me so long because it's one of the best lines.
It is. I think the bird people are the worst people in this in both these games. I think that's. If I was going to hate a group based on what they are, it's the bird people.
Well, I'm sorry. So you met a group of different peoples and cultures that you did not know, and you're like, which is the worst?
Yes.
I wish we had a name for that type
them all
of person.
in order. Yeah, that people are the best.
That makes sense. Have you met Alex? That's what he does everywhere.
The birds are so annoying. The birds spend so much time in that, and then now I have this ghost bird child just hanging out behind me, being annoying.
Well, you can turn him off.
Yeah,
can I?
And
you dismiss him.
He's so useful. Of all of them, the Rito ability is the most useful out of all of the abilities you get. Yeah, I use it constantly.
He's annoying. I do use it, and every once in a while he'll get eaten by a sandworm instead of me, and that's nice. But like, it's just why is a child in charge of this village? Guys, grow up.
He's not in charge of the village. Alex, you gotta chill on the haterade right now.
Yeah,
right? Let's get there. Right? You literally just said you want to be better about it.
Let's stay on the positive, which is
he's trying so hard.
These other three groups so much. I like
they're like superior. Is that what you describe them?
The fish people are so fun. The fish people's land is beautiful. Their culture is beautiful.
Their land too.
Their people, and the design of those characters where it's like there's a dolphin. And I'm a human, and we share a head. So there's just a dolphin's ass sticking out the back of my head. It's great. It's a great
I like this.
Design.
Noted Zorophile, Alex Falcone. Goes on the record.
Zora supremacist.
I'm getting in trouble for liking and for disliking. I'm not sure how to feel. I am lukewarm on the desert ladies. I could go either way on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have the two things you hate the most: women and foreign cultures.
That's not true.
Yeah,
I like a dry heat. I don't like a really exclusive, bouncer at the door of your town. That's a little mean.
How do you feel about getting shocked by lightning?
Against it. Hate it. I do have rubber pants finally, but I still am against it.
I mean, my favorite thing there's a lot of things I love about the modern Zelda, but like my favorite design element I love all the character designs, so much personality and charm, but like the best thing about something that this game really drives home is one, I love how much of a short king Link is. Like he's short
so little
compared to everyone else. And there is this really shitty cliche in video games of like if you can play as male or female characters in a game, especially like a fantasy game, all the male armor is designed to look really badass and it's big and bulky. All the women armor is designed to be very revealing and sexy and doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I fucking love that this game flips that on the head by all of Link's outfits just barely wearing anything. He is just so
Link is hot in a variety of ways.
Yeah, he is so skimpy. He's in drag for a good portion of it.
On his hotness because he will break right through.
His clothes are so revealing. They're all cut really low. It's amazing, the design of Link's outfits.
So all of that is true, but I will say most of the time I am wearing the clothes of the depths, with the light bulbs around your face and the light bulbs all down your fringes. It's the least hot he is.
Oh, no.
Alex, you have chains literally hanging from your entire body with no shirt. That's maybe the most hot Link is. You need to look at that costume.
Wait, no, he's not.
A bit closer. It's all the entire T-shirt is just chains with lights hanging from them. It is the hottest, gayest thing anybody has ever worn in any video game, and it's amazing.
There's a lot for everybody.
That is
really look at what that outfit is.
Okay, so you're totally right about this. I will say I had the top I had the head and the pants for a long time without, and I only just got the chest piece, and I did not. So I'd been mostly wearing a more covered up. I mostly like to hide away. I like him to look like I like a shroud. I like a shapeless shroud on Zelda. But yeah, you're right. This shirt is hot. These chains.
So our default is actually wearing the Bokoblin mask.
Yeah.
Sure. And so we're like, it was fun because like you can go around. There's these monsters guys who are the Bokoblins, and then if you wear the mask, they're like, you kind of also crouch down and you make their noises, and they don't attack you, right? So very good for pacifists. But there's a fun thing where there's supposed to be a horde of them nearby. There's like one of the towers, and you can just kind of like walk right by them. They're kind of like looking at you, really confused, and then you go inside and you just get launched into space, and you're like the first bokoblin in space, and it's you are like showing them what is possible for their species. It's real inspirational.
I love wearing like the bokoblin or the mogoblin mask and like pretending like I'm like the Hyrule version of Jane Goodall, and I'm just like among the animals and I'm observing their behavior and I'm like watching them. I got my camera out and I'm taking photos of them.
So Anthony, you have this picture, and you have a deep dive prepared. You've been preparing your whole life. I really just want to keep talking about...
does this have the timelines on
No,
it?
yeah,
Are you
so
gonna explain the Zelda timeline?
No, not at all.
But I do kind of want to spend more time just talking about how we approach the game, because I think that's a really interesting part of this.
Exactly. That's why my presentation is just an image.
Perfect.
But I want to talk about... So my presentation...
Before you start, Anthony, please give us a deep dive into Zelda.
Most of the time, what I try to do with my presentations is this idea of, like, how did we get here, right? Yeah. And usually I have to find, like, hundreds of photos and have to give all this context and everything. But with this one, this is, like, the best example of a image is worth 1,000 words. This is a very infamous image. It's incredibly silly. And this image, to me, represents a handful of things that I think are very, very important about why Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild was so important, so revolutionary, and mean so much, not just for games, but this franchise itself. So, first thing I want to kind of cover is, one, the idea of how Nintendo makes games. Okay. This is not exclusive to Nintendo. A lot of companies do this. It's not as common as you think. But Nintendo's approach to games is that they make the game first. The mechanics first. They make sure it's fun, they make sure the game is work, and then they decide on story, theme, aesthetics, right? So, like, a lot of the times they will create games with absolutely no character in mind, nothing like that. And they create mechanics, and then they build on top of that, right?
Right.
So, like, a lot of other companies don't do that, right? Like, Rockstar didn't, who created, like, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. When they were making Red Dead Redemption, it's not like they built a bunch of, like, cool mechanics and then they're like, oh, this would fit well in a Western theme, right? No, sure. They set out to make a Western Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yeah, they prototype into the game design. So it's a prototype of, here's some mechanical stuff we could do, and then from there the entire game springs forth.
I thought for sure they just took Grand Theft Auto and changed the cars to horses. I thought it was just like a one-for-one replacement.
Turn the car off, turn it to horse.
Yeah,
computer,
I thought that was
and
just
then
on the back end. They just switched the art and it was the same game.
But yeah,
basically San Andreas.
I mean, it's like, like The Last of Us wasn't made because they like created fun mechanics and then they were like, oh, this would fit well for like a third person.
Yeah,
right? The Last of Us started with like, we're gonna take Cormac McCarthy's The Road, Cormac McCarthy's No Country for Old Men, Bob's Your Uncle, we have The Last of Us, right? So like this
it took a little more effort than that, but
yeah, but
yeah, they had to fight off a lawsuit from Cormac McCarthy.
There's a lot of people that worked very hard at Naughty Dog that would be offended by Bob's Your Uncle.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was chief of product.
These are
like
great.
A guy like my wife divorced me. I lost everything. And you're over here, Bob's
your uncle. I got this game.
Yeah. Those are great games. They're masterpieces. But like when you develop a game when like ideas and theme and story first, and then work backwards into the mechanics, it's a different development style than something like Nintendo, right? So like if you look at Nintendo's catalog, this is why there's so many really weird and interesting Kirby games that are completely different, right? Because they will develop these mechanics and then they go, I don't know, I guess it can be a fucking Kirby game, and they just paint Kirby on top of it.
Well,
right?
What people say is it's like they were all Mario prototypes, and Nintendo was like, this is not good enough, so then they become Kirby games.
And Kirby's like, I'll take it all. My mouth is big.
They're like, I think Kirby can handle this one, actually. This is not right for the plumber.
But yeah, so if you take that approach, you take this idea of like Zelda being, from the beginning of kind of as we think of games to like the modern games, it has been there throughout all of it, right? The original Zelda, as Hunter said, came out for the original system. It's developed by Shigeru Miyamoto and a few other people. Zelda is based off Zelda Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda Fitzgerald. And, it's inspired by his time playing in caves as a child. But, the Zelda series, the Zelda 1, the Zelda 2, the Zelda series doesn't really get started as we kind of know it until, where is it? So if you go over here to this one timeline, you get A Link to the Past. So A Link to the Past came out for Super Nintendo, and that is what established the genre and the conventions of a Zelda game. So that's the other thing that this image really stands out to me. And again, it's so interesting.
I just gotta say, sorry for people listening, I don't think I can really describe this one.
No,
you just gotta,
it's crazy.
Just gotta click on the Figma or be cool with not knowing it.
Nah, don't look at it.
Yeah,
it's a chronology of the history of Hyrule. It's just a timeline of the different games and where they take place in the Age of Heroes.
No, it's ridiculous. But so the other thing this image really says to me, right, is this idea of expectations and conventions, right? So this is a thing from Link to the Past up until essentially the last game before Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword. Zelda became this very weird place where the conventions established by Link to the Past, they got stuck into, right? And they would change the art style and they would do things, but people would expect a certain set of things from Zelda. And the other thing you have to understand about Nintendo's design philosophy is that they're fucking lunatics and they never do what you think they should do.
Okay.
That is their whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
So you look
it's maybe also worth noting that Nintendo does not traditionally take cues from the larger game industry.
Yes.
They do whatever they think is right, but if there's a big trend, generally you don't find Nintendo chasing that trend. And you could see that with it took them until Splatoon to come up with something that had an online multiplayer component. And even though online multiplayer exploded in the 2000s, Nintendo was how about no, though? We're not going to just do stuff because everyone's doing it.
In a way, they actually kind of go against the grain in a lot of ways. And Zelda's a great example.
Doing internet stuff, but really poorly and badly utilized.
But
I don't know. Doing the internet poorly is with the grain for a lot of companies.
That's fair, yeah.
For a lot of industries. This is straight down the middle.
If you look at Link to the Past comes out, and that lays the template of here's what a Zelda game is. You play as Link. Every game opens with him waking up. You do 3 temples in a certain order. Something happens, then you do at least 3 more temples, right? Then you fight the final boss, and that's what Link to the Past establishes. Then you get Ocarina of Time, which does that in 3D, which is also great. But it really nails home the conventions of a Zelda game, right? And then they have this infamous moment with the Wind Waker, which is one of my favorite games. But that's a great example of as video games got more and more realistic and started to really lean into kind of gritty art styles, they made Zelda this very cute, cartoony version of it. And, of course, most people hated it because they were idiots, right? It's one of the best Zelda games, but people were fucking furious about the art style change.
Because he wasn't hot enough?
Well, because he wasn't, gritty and realistic, right? It didn't look real or whatever.
He's cartoony.
Yeah, but, I mean, the thing is, if you look at most real-looking games from that period, they look like garbage now, right?
Yeah,
but the Wind Waker
still
looks
great.
Amazing because they chose art style over trying to, chase realistic graphics.
Well, also, how do you make gritty water? That's the thing. I think that was the discussion they had with Wind Waker. They were this is gonna be a game full of water, and how are we to make that look adult? That just seems like a weird task.
Yeah.
Well, so this actually gets to one of my questions, which is I have had so much fun with these 2 recent Zeldas, and I remember playing some Zelda as a kid, but I've missed a lot of these. Could I ever go back? Because I feel like I couldn't even go back to Breath of the Wild. Because I want to climb through rocks vertically, and I can't.
Yeah, these
and I'm going to be too frustrated.
Are so different from the modern Zelda. I mean, I do think that Breath of the Wild, was one of my favorite games, and probably still is. I mean, I think Tears of the Kingdom genuinely makes Breath of the Wild look like a proof of concept game.
Yeah.
Right? Tears of the Kingdom is such taking those ideas and building on it. But these classic games are so different from what modern Zelda is. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to get you is like this, even though they changed art style, they changed platforms, they would add new mechanics, this idea of like these people making the games and these expectations of what was in a Zelda game became like incredibly burdensome for them as developers and as creatives. And they wanted to break out of it. And like this image to me, when I look at it, another thing I see is like when you combine Nintendo's sort of like mechanics first approach and then putting story and stuff on it later, not really taking story too much very seriously, also like being very experimental and interesting, and you butt that up against like conventions that people expect, fans constantly asking them like, this game looks great, but where does it take place in the timeline? And people at Nintendo will be like, timeline? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't actually. I want to say real quick, Anthony. I don't actually believe that person exists. I don't think there is a single person that cares about the Zelda timeline. I think it's a weird, like, I think it was a joke that then Nintendo started taking seriously, and now we have this thing that we're looking at.
No, see, I think it's the opposite. Because I remember people genuinely being very intense about this online, not in a joking way. And this image to me is Nintendo being like, all right, you want a fucking timeline? Here, you goddamn nerds. Here's the dumbest, most convoluted timeline bullshit you have ever seen. So, like, you know, this timeline idea is like the very first game in the series is actually at the end. The most recent game, Skyward Sword, that's actually at the beginning. It splits into 3 different timelines in the middle, and the games all branch out of that, right? To me, this timeline is like Nintendo kind of being like, look, we didn't make any of these games with a timeline in mind. That's not how it works.
I think it makes the games worse. That's something I'll say about the
If there's a timeline?
Yeah. And I think it's a huge bummer for anyone maybe finding out about Zelda and seeing it for the first time. Let's say if you found out about Zelda for the first time and then you're seeing this image, I bet it's ruined the whole series for you. That's what I think.
It
doesn't ruin the series for me, but it does not make me interested in this thing at all.
And it's never, if you said you've never needed it.
If you were showing me if you were showing me Breath of the Wild and you're like, hey, Tears of the Kingdom going to come out, you can build cars, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah,
that would be like I'm not interested in the timeline. In fact, like the thing that I'm the least interested in, besides the bird people, is is anytime they want to tell me the story and the memories. I just don't care.
No,
I want to play puzzles. I want to ride around on a horse. I don't care at all about this. There were goat gods,
tough,
and now
Alex,
they're time traveling. And
what you're talking about right here is like what people want to give Tears of the Kingdom is like the medal for most improved when it comes to story.
Is it?
So like, yeah, so it's like it's a bummer. Like I get that it maybe didn't resonate for you, but for a Zelda story, this might be the furthest they've come. I'm not willing to go that far and say that it's just like great in general, but like the Zelda series has never been like very good at actually telling like a real story.
See, I
very developed character.
I think it depends on the game. I think something like Majora's Mask or the Wind Waker do have.
I think those games have
stories.
Themes. I don't know if they have stories.
Yeah, and the way the theme runs through those games, and like Majora's Mask has a lot of little stories within it, but. You know, when
I want to go collect stuff, and I got to watch this 4-minute video where one of the characters doesn't speak, 3 of the characters have voices, some of the characters don't have, like, they just go, and then, like, the text appears, but they didn't hire a guy to do that voice for some reason, and I can't skip it, and it's just like, here's 6 new origin stories, here's a bunch of different gods.
Okay, wait.
I want to collect stuff.
Can I pitch something then? So I think the thing that's really interesting about Zelda, especially this incarnation, one, the game is giant, but also it's pretty rare, I think, to have like so much game that you could really dislike parts of it, because I think people are going to bounce off different parts of all of this, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is like as close to an infinite buffet as you can get, where it's just like, well, I'm just going to eat from this part of the buffet, right? And I'll like ignore it and skip over the rest of it. And there's so much here where it's like, for Mario Kart, it's like, you're going to like Mario Kart or you're not. Like, that's the core thing. There's not like one person who really likes.
I'm a big fan of balloons, and so I play the game with the cars on the balloons, and then I just ignore the cars.
So, you're right. So it's like this is a game holder where it's like a lot of there's a lot of games inside this game basically, and you kind of get to choose your own adventure for the most part, and you really get to ignore with no consequences the part you don't like, and that's maybe the nice part of it.
I completely agree with that, and the only fix I would offer is that the memories are skippable.
Yeah, they are skippable. What are you talking about? You can just skip them. You don't have to watch any of them.
No, but so if you don't know that that's about to happen when you collect a dragon tier, that you have to watch a 7-minute movie. There should be most of the things you can click minus or X and skip over, and then some of the things are like, it's gonna be 7 minutes. You're stuck here. You have to let this run.
You can skip those. You can absolutely skip those. You do not have to watch them.
There's so many. There's like I don't know which ones are which, but there's definitely parts where all of a sudden the skip button is gone. Yeah, and I know that it doesn't work because I've pressed all of the potential skip buttons every time it's come up. And I'm like mashing keys, and it just keeps playing this movie, and I can't get out of it.
Look, I just have to offer it. You do have to go and pee at some point. So, like, this is a good moment for that.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, I'm playing along, and I'm doing the puzzles. Like, oh, okay, that happens. I'm gonna
even if you have rubber pants, you should still go. Yeah.
But then they'll be like, oh, you got to press A in the middle to keep this thing going. Like, I just want it to play. I don't want to watch it.
I love the idea of a video game reviewer that always notes if all the cutscenes are skippable or not. Yeah. You know, and that's like a major part of the review.
Okay, I mean, this is genuinely surprising to me that no one else cares if things are skippable. Like, surely people want to skip stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, this is not. Yeah, that's not a thing for me.
Yeah, no, yeah, and like I don't know, I enjoy the writing and characters and the charm in the Zelda games. I always have. It's one of my
I like how the game looks.
Yeah.
Like I like that. So I watch the scenes because I like the characters. I like the way they animate.
But I'm like aspect of me playing Zelda is being a little bit impatient. Like I don't like that I run out of stamina jogging and I have to walk. I want to run everywhere. And I just want to fly. This is what I really want from this game is I just want to be able to skydive as far and as long as I want. I want to be able to just jump on my little paraglider and I want to go corner to corner on the map in the sky. I just like flying. And I hate how long it takes. You have to drop, and then I got to go find a new tower, and then and you can skip the first part of the tower, but not the second part of the tower animation. Just put me in the sky and let me float again.
Yeah, Alex, you would literally. Have you guys watched the most recent season of I Think You Should Leave?
Yeah.
You were Ronnie on the zip line. That's what you are. You are just
totally.
You're just like I think you are only here to fly.
This is the thing about I Think You Should Leave is there's always an interesting game to find out who the asshole is. I don't think Ronnie's the asshole in that sketch.
Wait, I'm just realizing, Alex. So you're a speedrunner with no actual goals. So it's just
I just want to fly, and I have a game where I can fly
with no destination. It's a 0% speed run.
I am in a big hurry to not get anywhere. That's
as fast as I can, going nowhere.
On the side, I'd be like, I want to go see this thing.
Run.
I want to go over here. I just want to fly to it. I don't want to have
How
to
fast can
to
you
it.
do nothing?
So we had this great exchange yesterday that I would like to share where I asked you guys if there's anything you wanted me to do before we could talk about it to make sure I'd gotten to. And Anthony, you said, I think the coolest thing and best thing about this game is that everyone will have a completely unique adventure due to how they move through the world. I don't want to contaminate that. Just do whatever you want to do. I think that'll make our conversation more interesting. And then Ezra said, stick a minecart to a stick. So that's two different ways of approaching that there is different ways to play the game. So Ezra's like, there's a dumb thing you have to try, and you are like, whatever you do is correct. Although when we're on the air, you're like, whatever you do is incorrect. But like off the air, you're very like open world about it, which I love. So I've not seen you guys play. I want to talk about how you guys move through this world. Hunter, I haven't heard from you in a minute. So when you sit down to this new Zelda game, and I watched you stream for a while. I watched you build carts and things from your first stream of it. What is the most fun part of this for you, and how do you move through the game?
I kind of play the game in several different modes, I would say. And right now, at where I'm at with the game, I'm probably 6 parts tooling around. I just kind of screw around, do whatever I want. I've done too many shrines. Actually, shrines are kind of my least favorite part of the game. But because I'm just like exploring a lot, and then you find a shrine, and then you do a shrine, and building dumb stuff, finding Korok seeds, like literally just filling out my map is one mode, and the other mode is like very objective focused. Like I very much am just working on the main quest, and some interesting side quests, but a lot of the side quests in Tears of the Kingdom can be accomplished when I'm in my tooling around mode. But I've been more tooling than doing the game, to be honest. I'm actually, so we're recording this, and then next week is the OGA episode for Tears of the Kingdom, and I am actually house sitting. I'm alone in a house for a week, and it is my time to completely finish my time with this game. And so I'm about to get more serious. But thus far, I kind of like tooling around better than when I'm playing the game serious, to be honest. Like,
this is exactly what I was getting at then. I think that the serious part of it is less fun than the tooling around part. The objects are less important. I just like tootling around. I like seeing stuff, deciding on a whim whether I'm going to follow this quest or not.
I really wish
just so. The thing is, it's very beautiful, and the music is really nice, and so I just kind of want to tootle around. I want to hang out there. I want to live in this world for a while. So
I think with this one in particular, the handcrafted content, like the dungeons in this game, I think really depending on what you count as the dungeons. Right, like to me, the temples start as soon as you start the quest to get into the temple.
Yeah.
Right, like as soon as like all the build up to the temple is part of the temple in this game, in my opinion. And that stuff is some of the best stuff in the game. I think like the design, the way like the framing works. My favorite moment in Tears of the Kingdom. Of a lot of them. It's a lot of great moments I had, but the moment that like genuinely will stay with me forever is when you're doing the Rito temple and you're building up to it and you're like jumping from one floating plane to another and the storm is raging. The very last one you jump on sends you out of the storm. So you've been inside this like all surrounding storm for like 40 minutes. As like the music is building and you jump out and you come out above the clouds and it's like a beautiful sunny day and it's just very serene and peaceful and the music fades away and you can just see the entire map. Like to me, that moment will stay with me forever. It is like literally one of the most like profound and beautiful moments that this game has to offer, and every temple has a moment like that. I watched my wife accidentally discover like the speed running strat and literally skip an entire temple, like the build up to a temple by accident. She didn't even know she was doing it. She was just exploring and like brute forced her way through something and like immediately cut out like 2 hours of gameplay.
Right.
And it was like incredible to see.
I love it. I liked the temple with the bird people. The part leading up to that you describe as part of the temple is like can be a bit of a grind where it's like this person says to go across the way to this person, who says go across back to that person, which says go back to that person. Now go get me a fish and come back. And it's just like none of this is like a puzzle. None of this is interesting or nothing's changing. I'm just going back and forth. But then, the flying ships and because I love flying anyway. That's the best part, and that's the thing the bird people have. The fish people don't, is they can fly, and that part's pretty cool when you're flying around. Flying's pretty great.
Can we just get you a flying game? There's games where you can just fly it. Like you want like a Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Yeah.
That's one thing that bird people got, but fish people don't. It's fly. Alex Spellcode said.
Well, and because the fish people, we don't really actually swim in this game. You only swim you skim the surface, but you never dive. And so I don't actually feel like we even get to really experience what it's like to be a fish people. But I got a pretty good idea what it's like to be a bird people.
Yeah.
You you ever like do the thing when you fly up the waterfalls and then you go from swimming to flying? It's the best of both worlds.
That's
everything
you
love, Alex.
Right about that. Yeah, you're right. Az, how do you play this game? Because you're getting like little half an hour spurts with a 10-year-old.
Well, so for a while we were doing actually where I would play for 10 minutes, Caleb would play for 10 minutes, and then Maya would also play for 10 minutes. And so
I assume hers was a chaotic 10 to close this out.
Yeah, what's the opposite of a tight 5? It is definitely a chaotic 10.
A real loose 10.
Caleb is very driven. Like he just wants that movement of the main story is really the thing. So he's like he doesn't want to. If there's like a monster who might kill us, he doesn't want to like fight it. He just wants to keep on going. Like I think even like say the shrines are kind of too slow for him. He wants that. Maya does well with just like put her in a shrine and like let her like stick things together and like figure it out. And I think like the fuse mechanic is a little finicky. I think for like a 5-year-old. The ultra hand thing. Yeah, it's like a little tricky. But I mean it's a lot of that, and then like Sarah's kind of like our person like in the chair, where it's like she's like kind of like be coaching the whole situation, and so it's kind of a fun like family thing that's going on.
That's cool.
I won't say it's like, I mean, we do make some progress. I think we'll probably finish it before the next Zelda comes out, but maybe just barely. Is kind of how it feels. So yeah. But our favorite thing though is like, we have so there's a thick sturdy stick that you can get, and we got two of those, and so we stuck them together.
So
but it's
long,
like
thick sturdy stick.
It's basically it's too long, kind of like it has some issues. So like we have I sent over a picture where it's us, with the monster mask, and like you got like the sad bird person like next to you, like in a cutscene kind of dialogue, and then we have this like giant stick that's kind of like sticking through the ground, and I like that being able to kind of undercut like the serious moments. I think it feels very important in the way we play.
Yeah, so I didn't actually get a chance to stick a minecart to a stick, but I got
one job.
When you beat I had two jobs. One was to play it all the way through and however I wanted to, and that overlapped with yours. I just didn't have the time for both. But I did have the thing when you kill the box monster and he gives you a spinny bit. I have a spinny bit fused to my shield and to my sword. So in all of the cutscenes, I've just got twirling gears on my head and coming straight out of my back, and they look pretty rad. So I did get to do some serious cutscenes.
Same idea.
And I love that the fact that they keep whatever stupid thing you were wearing in all the cutscenes is so rad. And the fact you can just fuse apples to shields and have an apple shield, like that part's really fun for me
when
still.
You're wearing crazy armor and like you're in the I don't know if you guys did the mayo race in Kakariko Village, not Hateno Village.
No, I was there for the beginning of it, and I was like, local politics. I got shit to do.
You get a great costume out of it at the end. Cool. You get her really fancy mushroom thing with the lipstick, and you have like that on in costume in like cutscenes. Yeah, I mean this.
I also just like seeing the wildlife. Like I like just when there's like a heron will land, I'll like, I'm gonna watch this heron land and like then take off. It's just, even though it's not even the most like, it's not impressive graphics really. It's just lovely.
Well, it's art style goes way above graphics. It's like
yeah.
I mean, like obviously on the last two Breath of the Wild quite a bit, but this one, the like Studio Ghibli influence. Besides just like visuals, but like ideas and thematically, like the depths is just literally the underground from Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. It looks exactly like that. All the dragon imagery that becomes very important in the later half of the game.
I haven't gotten to that important part, but I do love the depths, man. I love the Sky Islands, and I love the Skylands, and I love the depths. I spent probably the first after you finish the training thing, I found my first depths, and I spent probably a week just in the depths. And it was also a week where my wife was out of town, and so it was it felt like a dream world. I would occasionally go outside and be like, what is even happening in my life anymore? I've just spent so long because I don't play games that much, as you guys know, and so it has really sunk into my head in a way that I've never had before, and I don't know how to deal with. There was a pickup truck that drove past me the other day that had two of those outdoor heating lamps in the back, and it looked like he had fused two fire things in the back of his truck, and my brain just it looked like a normal part of Zelda to me, and it took me a second to be like, no, we're awake. This is the real world.
Right. I had that happen last week when I was out, and there was out of the corner of my eye, I saw the shade of green that the shrines has.
Yeah.
And my brain, there's a shrine over there.
Yeah, I gotta drop a pin on that.
I'm in fucking Portland. I'm not in Hyrule, Anthony.
The other one I had, when I was going for a run the other day, there were these two kids playing, and a kid just yelled something, and it just I was like, ugh, side quest. I just heard, I gotta go help this kid with some stupid shit right now. It really is weird how it's gotten in there for me. Let me say this about because you mentioned the shrines. You guys are kind of split on the shrines. The shrines are one of my favorite parts too. I just love the shrines because
I like them.
I love puzzles. I love a little puzzle, and I feel so lucky with this game that the Demon King decided the only way to hold on to power over the kingdom was to create a series of puzzle caves, because he fucked up, man. He didn't see me coming. He didn't know that my strong suit is puzzle caves and that I was going to take him down.
Technically, the Zonai built the shrines to test the hero to prepare him for this. It was not the Demon King had nothing to do with
that.
Alex.
Jesus
Jeez,
Christ.
Alex.
No, that's less funny.
I can't
when you
believe
say it that way.
you.
Let me tell you. Let me ask you a question, guys.
When does Link poop? Right, that's what I've been thinking this whole time.
He eats so much.
When does he? When
so
does the poop?
much sometimes.
Where does the poop go?
Well, I got
my Link is eaten all the time.
Yes.
Let me run a theory by you guys.
All right.
Okay, so the game is called Zelda, right?
Yeah.
Even though Zelda's not you. You're not Zelda. Well,
Correct.
last week we were talking about arcade games, and you were talking about Asteroids Hunter. And
Asteroids.
The goal of Asteroid, you're not an asteroid. The goal is to kill asteroids. And you also talked about Centipede. And you are not the Centipede. Your goal is to kill the Centipede. So that got me thinking.
What's going on in Centipede? Let's be fair, though.
What?
It's not really clear what's going on in Centipede.
Yeah. No one knows.
You're not driving the Centipede, I think is clear.
Yeah, I think they're bugs that you're fighting, but I don't want to speak like I know something.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
don't.
are we trying to kill the Pac-Man? I will kill the Pac-Man.
So there are games where they're named
that's
after
true,
you, and there are games that are
and you're
named after
Pac-Man
the
and
thing
you're
you
running from the
kill.
ghost.
You know, Diablo is not. You're not playing as the Diablo, I don't think.
Weird pull, but all right.
Well, it's just the thing that's on posters around town.
Yeah. It's named after the mountain near me. That's real.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's why they named it. Yeah.
I think the mountain and the game are both named after Satan, is my guess. But
Well, look, the mountain was named after Satan. The game was named after the mountain.
The mountain.
oh, interesting. By transitive property, I think it's named after Satan. But anyway, the
He
point
got-
is,
he gets a producer
A lot
credit,
of games
yeah.
are named after the villain, and so I've been thinking, like the way Tears of the Kingdom starts, Zelda, the princess, is like, hey, let's recklessly run down to the place where all of the violence has started, and then it'll cause all of this stuff to go bad, and then I will disappear for the whole game, and you'll fight it. Which is basically the way the last game went, where she's just MIA, and
She
you
was
have to
busy
fight all of the bad
sealing.
guys.
She was sealing real hard that whole game. Like
Is
100
she?
years of sealing. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
starting to wonder, is Zelda the villain of Zelda?
Oh, it was an inside job?
Is this because she hides away the whole game? I defeat evil at great personal cost and
Alex over
risk.
here can't handle a
She
single
does nothing.
woman character with a name in anything. She
look,
must be the villain.
There are plenty of women in this game
This is
that I think
2016
are
all
rad.
over again, folks.
There are a lot of hero women in this game. Zelda has done nothing to help me. She's brought about all of these great evils, and I'm starting to suspect that these are her friends, and she's like, will you get this Link off my back? And just like, will you guys go attack him so I can finally just go be the Princess of Darkness that I've always wanted to be?
Right.
It's weird. This is your same argument for why you hate Brie Larson. It's very strange, Alex.
I don't
It's
know what that is referencing. I think Zelda is a member of the Yiga clan. That's what I'm getting at. I think she is the ultimate head of the Yiga clan, disguised as a princess, throwing me off with all the...
Does she have bananas on her? I think that's the real thing that'll test it.
Yeah. That's important.
Well, I mean, when you do one of those Korok puzzles that's just picking up a rock and there's a Korok underneath it, do you drop the rock on the Korok's head?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
you do.
Yeah.
Oh, I just chucked the rock and hope no one's down below.
I always drop it on the head because it's fucking hilarious.
That started as an accident, but now it's kind of a tradition.
Sorry,
look,
Korok.
I'm not doing the war crimes on the Koroks. I'm mostly I'm also not carrying them their friends. Like, grow up. But like,
well, there's two kinds of players in this game, right? People who are either annoyed about the Koroks or people who are annoyed about the sign guy.
And people who are annoyed by the bird people.
Yeah.
Well, someone can hate all four or all three of those, right? But also,
I like the sign guy.
The Korok.
I like the sign guy, too.
Yeah, Caleb does like the
I also figured out how
Beetle.
to. Beetle is fucking a Zelda staple. He's one of the few characters who made the jump to
Just
Breath
what
of the
Ezra
Wild.
told me, and I'm shocked that of all the characters to keep around,
we're
the
rebooting
annoying
around
guy?
Beetle. That was the whole plan. It was look, yes, Anthony. Usually it's game mechanic first, but it's actually in this case it was Beetle first.
They invent Beetle, then they invent game mechanics, then they write a story around it.
I do have to say, the sign guy, I figured out how to break all of those puzzles, and it was very hard for me not to do it. But with the sign guy, you know the Zonai device, that's the platform that you can turn it on and you can lift it up to wherever you want?
Yeah.
You can use those to do every single one of the sign guy puzzles.
Sure, yeah.
And it's perfect. And it's like,
but that's not the point of the sign guy puzzle. The point of the sign guy puzzle is to use as much stuff as possible in order to prop up his sign. That's the point.
No, I'm closer to Hunter on this one.
I literally use everything in range. Yeah. There's nothing I don't use.
I could see people being a tiny bit annoyed by him because he thinks the sign is a person. And that's not a charming quality in a human for me, but it's worth it.
He's a bit of adult. Yeah.
He's a little dullard, but I do enjoy those puzzles. Hey. And I don't mind the Koroks. I'm mostly not in the mood. Like when someone's like, "Hey, my friend's over there," I'm like, "Great," and then I will run by you.
Yep, they are.
Yeah, good to see. All right, cool. But I mostly don't care to like launch you across a river at any point. I don't need it, but I'm not mad. But I'll stop for a sign guy most of the time. Let's rank it. But first, an ad. This show is brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/BTE pod. And if you want to become a bestie, you can help us keep making the show and keep making the show better. We really appreciate it. You also get some nice thank you gifts along the way. Stickers, mugs, t-shirts, and I was actually I just had an idea for some bonus video content. So we might start doing some video content over on the Patreon. So all that and more, patreon.com/BTE pod, and we really appreciate everybody who supports the show. All right, it's time to rank it on the master list. We have 17 things we have talked about thus far. This is going to be an important one. Where does Zelda fall on the master list? Before we do that, Hunter, please read us the 17 best things ever.
Number 1, warm beverages, like hot water, for example. Number 2, firefighters.
I don't think that's an example.
Number 3, arcades. My Neighbor Totoro, which is a movie. Pro wrestling, romance novels, trees, advice columns, the concept of variety itself, as in just when you have more than one thing, and they're different.
Multiple options.
Just the idea, that's number 9.
Yes.
Number 10, the sun, the star that lights our planet and makes life possible.
And also
which
gives
is slightly better
cancer.
than Fresh Bread, number 11. Number 12, something called Nordic Track. I don't even know what that is. Stand-up comedy comes in at 13. Powerlifting is after that. Cat videos, playing Halo with the boys, and at the dead last, we've got Waffle House. That's it.
Can I make a quick point real fast? Okay. Literally 1 through 5 are in Zelda. You guys. There is warm beverages. There is firefighting. There are arcade games you can play. My Neighbor Totoro is obviously a clear influence, and there are things that look like Totoro in it. There is a Goron who wears a pro wrestling match and makes you wrestle him. There are romance novels. There are trees. Yes. There are advanced columns. There are variety. There is the sun. There is fresh bread. There is not a Nordic Track. I can't really think of any kind of stand-up comedy.
I bet you could
there
build
is powerlifting.
Yeah, we lift rocks.
Yeah, for sure. There is powerlifting. There are not really cat videos. There are cats. There are cute things.
It's a game. It's a video game, and there's cats. That's cat videos.
Play Halo with the boys in Zelda. You guys, Zelda is number 1. I am just going to say
Where are the beverages? I feel like I've eaten a lot, and I've taken some potions, but what's a hot drink in Zelda?
You can make them the same way you make, like, other potions and stuff like that. You just,
like what? Give me an example of a hot drink.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I think you might be lying about that
one.
I'm
Googling.
Yeah. But
you are firefighting, but you're also pro-fire a lot of the time. Yeah. Fire is like a crucial element, and I feel guilty about that too.
So are most firefighters. So a lot of firefighters are arsonists. All right,
are we ranking Tears of the Kingdom, or are we ranking every Zelda game?
I think we have to rank Zelda as a franchise.
It's all Zelda.
As a franchise.
As a intellectual property. As one of the most important games in a most important piece of art in its medium.
What about the Zelda TV show where he goes, well, excuse me?
the CDI
games?
My
Link doesn't talk, so it's fine.
Does that count? Is that part of it? Is excuse me, princess, part of
it?
That's
a good question.
The CDI games don't count. The Nintendo doesn't talk about them. They weren't made by them. But
so it feels then like Anthony is deciding, based on what is good and what is bad, what is included in this.
No, because the CDI games are a long story. No, my point is, seriously, my vote kind of doesn't count very much here because I'm being hyperbolic and all that. But I think above pro wrestling I would be happy with that. But I can also see this going up to number 1.
But you made a really strong argument, though, that Zelda contains a lot of variety, which we do not value on this podcast. So I think it should be ranked pretty low, considering our lack of. It's a negative argument. It was surprising to hear that coming from you, Anthony. But you're right. It does have it has many other things inside of it, which we classically hate on this show.
I have really loved these last 2 Zelda games. They've meant a lot to me over the last year and a half, whatever, where I've played them. But I don't think they're better than arcades for me in terms of how much they've meant to me over the years. Ooh. I feel like arcades are more foundational to me, and Zelda is several games on one theme, but arcades is all the games. It's all games.
So I'll put it above arcades because arcades is not an experience I really have with my kids. Not in the same level. It's this is a little bit at a time, but this is. Zelda was this is many more hours and it's nice in that this was a very prolonged kind of storytelling, right? Where it's kind of much more immersive over months.
And Zelda,
and months.
The franchise is cross-generational, whereas arcades are just of a specific time, really,
and then disappear.
I would put. I'll agree with Ezra. I'll agree with what Ezra. This week I agree with Ezra.
I'd be happy for 3.
Okay.
Look, here's the thing: if my house was on fire, I'd rather have a firefighter than a Zelda. You know what I mean?
That's a real. If you want to really juice firefighters, you just ask if your house is on fire, which of these things you'd like. Yeah, it's hard to beat.
That's why warm beverages make sense. If my warm beverage is on fire, great, right? Yeah. It's still warm. That's fantastic. No problem there, right? So that's why firefighters can't go higher than that.
Yeah, it is. And firefighters hate when I ask them hey, have you ever jumped above a fire and let the updraft carry you up 50 feet in the air? They hate that when you ask them.
No,
that.
It's because people are doing that now.
Yeah. Or instead, you're oh, hey, a hose. Just put a splash fruit on an arrow. I think it's a lot more effective.
Yeah.
Maybe try that instead.
That way, yeah. I'll give you 3. Let's do 3. Great. We'll make Zelda the new 3. Not as good as firefighters, but above arcades. All right, we are gonna wrap things up. All right, that is it for our show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again next week. Our theme music is by @Metrix on Instagram. Our logo design is at Tom Typography. We're on Instagram at BTE Pod and on YouTube at Alex Falcone. You can leave us an honest 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. And you can send us mail at bestthingeverpodcast.com. Really appreciate all of our producers who help make the show possible by donating on the Patreon at the producer level. Those include Ranger Patrick, John the Consigliere, the Duke of Jill, the best assistant regional manager Sean, and Claire is still TBD after all these years. You can find me on TikTok at Alex_Falcone, unless you live in Montana. And I did used to have my name on a plaque at an ice cream store for finishing a 15-scoop, 15-topping sundae in just 32 minutes.
Really? Wait, did it have to be under 32 minutes, or was it?
It had to be under an hour.
Okay.
I did it well under an hour.
Yeah.
On my second try, but I did get it.
15 scoops.
What?
15 scoops of different ice cream, or was it all the same?
Yes, and that's one of the main challenges, that they had to be different ice cream flavors and different toppings.
Whew.
And so one of the keys to the game that I would tell you if you're going to do the same challenge is to hew as close as possible to vanilla and chocolate basic flavors, because the mixing is going to kill you, and you don't think it will, but 10-20 minutes in, it's going to be soup. So you want stuff that is going to be swirled.
What's that good soup?
So you got vanilla, you got chocolate, you got sugar-free vanilla, sugar-free chocolate. You've got chocolate vanilla swirl. You got a chocolate chip vanilla flavor. You want to get close to that as you can for most of the flavors.
Yo, and you know what? You also got to do one restless cricket. Change the game. It'd be a lot faster.
Change the game.
Other tips really quick on if you have to do ice cream in a big hurry. Well, for the toppings, you want to get rid of some of the fruit, because the fruit doesn't taste good with other fruit in the same way. The fruit syrups are really heavy. Number 3, there's going to be a ton of whipped cream on top. Don't touch it. Burrow through it. Leave the rest. It'll just disappear if you wait long enough. The whipped cream is going to eat itself. Number 4, get a cup of warm water to rinse and spit with, because your mouth will be too cold to keep eating. It'll actually really slow you down. So warming your mouth helps a lot.
I was just imagining...
You're a speedrunner, Alex. You're an ice cream speedrunner.
Yeah, I was.
I was just imagining the way hot dog eating contest, dip the hot dogs in
the
water.
shimmy?
You like dipping your
you
ice
dunk
cream
it?
in water. Yeah, just a scoop of ice cream in water, and shoving it down your throat.
The other thing that I recommend is to have somebody there to stop you from having conversations. You got to keep on pace. So I was there with 2 friends. They were talking to each other, and then anytime I'd say anything, they would turn and say, "Shut up and keep eating." And so on my plaque, it said, "Alex quotes, shut up and keep eating, Falcone." And I say "used to" on this story because the ice cream shop went out of business, and I don't know what they did with the plaque. I wish I could have it back.
Did you like you woke up that morning knowing you were gonna do this? Right?
Yes, so I did it twice. The first time I did it on a whim after dinner, and I did not get very close. But it was really just kind of like casing the joint. The second time I was like, and it wasn't. I like woke up that morning. I was like, I'm not gonna eat breakfast. I'm gonna do ice cream at 11 a.m. That'll give me the right amount of hungry without making me like sad or tired throughout the day.
Wow.
Powered through.
That's awesome.
32 minutes. One of my best accomplishments.
What like? Without, I don't want you to get gross or get too specific, but like, was it a pretty bad night?
No, I was fine. Morning? I mean, this is the thing about I was like 17 at the time.
Yeah.
Teenage boys are the inside of you is gross. You are just just straight through. I did nothing. I ate dinner that night. I felt fine.
This is a good day.
Yeah. I probably was not a huge dinner, but man, that was my breakfast and lunch, and I had another meal. I was
the idea
fine.
of your body just like not even being surprised by that order coming in. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like, this checks out. Sounds about right.
What it's like being Alex's gut.
Like my stomach hurts literally just thinking about it.
I know. Me too. Now, like, imagine it.
Where is Link's plaque? Because I have eaten 30 apples in a fight, and he is fine.
Yeah.
So like,
he's doing like exercise.
One of my favorite things about Zelda is being in the middle of a fight and being like, hang on a second, changing clothes, pulling out a different weapon, eating a full meal, and then be like, all right, game on, and then start fighting again. It's great.
Yeah, his plaque is called the Master Sword. It says eating all this stuff on it. That's what the
so
on
true.
it says.
Ezra Fox, thanks for joining us. You can find his Substack, deletethis.substack.com. And a true thing about him is he met his wife when she was 14.
And I was also 14. Important to always say this.
If I thought of this, I would have done that the way the whole time because it's funnier. But
I don't like that. But yeah, big shout out though to the OGA listeners on the Discord who helped me a lot with some of the good background, bring out their favorite moments for Zelda. So I want to thank you, Hunter, for lending the fan base. Also, big shout out to Chef Neer, to Okami, to Toothball, to Cages, to Tank, to Matthew, and to Sports.
I like the Sports is their own character on your Discord.
Yeah.
Anthony Lopez, thanks for being here. Thanks for all of your work. Yeah. Fun fact about you have gotten COVID.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
not as bad as my wife had, but I did not enjoy it. I would not suggest it.
I met somebody the other day who still hadn't gotten it, is why I had that on my list of lies to say about you. I thought it was interesting.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Was it Ezra?
I mean, I don't know if it's...
You've gotten it.
No.
Yeah, you did. You're sick every 3 days.
Not with this. We test every time.
I'm skeptical. I think you got it and didn't even realize.
Well, that's possible, but does that count?
And then rounding us out, that's funny that I picked a lie about him that's true of you. That's great. And then rounding it out, Hunter Donaldson, you can listen to Old Gamer's Almanac. We keep calling it OGA, but that's his other show about video games where he gets to have the final say over how things are ranked compared to other things.
It is a much more logical ranking system on the whole.
I don't get the final say. We come up with it together, and that's it's very there are things about that list that I'm also like, oh, I don't agree with this, But I also keep my own personal list.
Yeah, Hunter, you should have a personal list for best things ever.
Yeah, that would help, because then I could just be like, I could just talk about how good my list.
I would love to hear your machete order of our list. Also, fun fact, you did, as was very clear from the additional detail you added, you did go to school with Yakov Smirnov's kid. Also, that phrasing, Smirnov's kid instead of his son or daughter, I thought would throw people off, but it didn't work. You were so clear.
Well, I didn't really know them at all, and I never talked to them, but I just remember seeing Yakov and being like, cool, that's cool. I got to see Yakov.
It was cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We will be back again.
Bye.